Hi, my name is Sumit Goel. I work with Salesforce.com as the lead monitoring and automation engineer. Today I'm here for a short talk about how we are using Zabbix at Salesforce Enterprise IT, our monitoring objectives, high-level architecture, and especially the cloud application monitoring. That's where we have extended the capabilities of Zabbix. And what's next for Zabbix? That we see as our monitoring vision, that I personally see as monitoring vision for us. We started using Zabbix about 2 years ago, and we needed a solution that works with corporate data centers and the cloud infrastructure and application services. We wanted to monitor the software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, and corporate data centers, all of that using one system. And when we evaluated that, we considered 4 characteristics: security, flexibility, scalability, and the user experience. I personally believe that open source projects tend to release security patches and bug fixes faster than other products. Also, Zabbix provides tools to extend its capabilities that are not available out of the box. Let's talk about our infrastructure design for the monitoring system. On the left-hand side, we have the 3-tier Zabbix application, which is front-end Zabbix server and a PostgreSQL database that has master-slave replication setup. On the right-hand side, we have 3 different scenarios. Corporate data center, which is a traditional, everyone has corporate data centers, most of the companies, where the technologies like routers, switches, load balancers, firewalls, hypervisors, servers, virtual machines. We are monitoring all of that using Zabbix today. Primarily, we rely on Zabbix agent to gather the data from the systems and servers, and on network devices, we use SNMP version 3 agent. In some cases, we have to use the SSH agent as well, and some external scripts, which I'm going to talk a little later. Then we have the cloud infrastructure second, which is mostly, the monitoring setup is mostly same as the corporate data center. The only difference there is the Zabbix proxy is configured in passive mode, which means that the server, Zabbix server, is going to ask for data, and Zabbix proxy sends the data back to the server. Then there is cloud software services, which is essentially software service and platform as service. Salesforce uses multiple software service solutions, and we monitor all of the availability and the performance of those software service solutions using Zabbix web checks for simple scenarios. But for complex scenarios, we use tools like Selenium WebDrivers, PhantomJS WebKit, and Jenkins. These tools have enabled us to create those custom checks and use the Zabbix sender program to send the data back to Zabbix, so we can keep one collection point and have one single dashboard for our support teams. I believe that we should provide consistent user experience across the organization to all our customers, which is all the Salesforce employees for us. And to be able to do that, these tools enables us to imitate or simulate the user behavior, which is user log into an application. That's a primary way to interact with an application. And if we can monitor the primary way they interact with the application, that's the availability. For us, the availability is not pinging a server or the website is accessible. Even if website is returning 200 OK, if a user cannot use the website, it means it's not available. Let's dig deeper into cloud application monitoring. So a very common way user access the application is they obtain the 2-factor authentication token, they log into some single sign-on system, and then they access the application. And we have automated all of this process. We programmatically obtain the token, we validate. If the token is valid, then we log into single sign-on system. And if it passes the login, then access the application. If the application is accessible, then we search for specific keywords that ensures that the application is actually usable, and then use the Zabbix sender to send the data back to the Zabbix server. Before sending the data, if any of the step fails, then Zabbix sender sends the error code, respective error code, back to the server. And if Zabbix sender itself fails to send the data, then there is no data trigger on the Zabbix server. There are two more ways we monitor the cloud applications: APIs and web scraping. APIs are awesome because they enable us to move data between two systems and the programs. And there are some software service providers that provide the monitoring metrics using the APIs. We write Python scripts and fetch the data using the APIs and feed the data back into the Zabbix server using the Zabbix sender. But where the APIs are not available, most often the providers provide some sort of status page where they have the availability of the performance data available in form of traffic light, like red, yellow, green. And that's where we use two types of method. We use the shell scripts or the Python web drivers. We use shell scripts using the curl, where we know that the use case is going to finish within 30 seconds. So if the script is going to run and it's going to finish within 30 seconds, we try to use batch script using curl and other functions, and we run it either via user parameters or external checks. But if their job is longer than 30 seconds, then we tend to offload that to a separate box, which is a Selenium and the Jenkins box, and we run those jobs and use that to send the data back to the Zabbix server. Here is one of the examples that I got from the Selenium Python bindings documentation. And there are two things that I wanted to highlight in this diagram. The first thing is that this program is going to automatically open the Firefox browser, and it's going to browse the python.org website. And then it ensures the title of the website has a word Python in it. And it's all happening automatically. And then it looks on the python.org website, there's a search box. It's going to find that search box, and it's going to type PyCon as a search string, and it's going to search this and hit the enter. And all of that is happening using this Selenium WebDrivers library. I think this is a fantastic tool to monitor in today's world the software service kind of applications where all the infrastructure and the application is managed by someone else, and we care most about the availability and the usability of the application. And to simulate that user behavior, this Selenium is very, very powerful tool. Here is another example that uses curl in the Zabbix sender. This reads the data from the Google Apps status dashboard, where you have the traffic light format signals, green, yellow, red. And it simply parses the RSS feed on the app status page and counts the titles, where we can do a lot with this, but this is a very basic example. It's going to show you a total number of alerts that are present in Google App Dashboard, and use the Zabbix sender to send the data to the Zabbix server. I included logger in here because sometimes we may need to troubleshoot and find out what's happening, whether the job run or not, or even though Zabbix sender doesn't give very meaningful error messages, but still sometimes I find it useful. So that's why I put it to logger.t, so the output is always logged in the syslog. At last, I want to talk about what's next for monitoring for us. I read a quote by Herb Simon a few weeks ago that information is not a scarce resource, attention is. And I'm completely able to relate that data to our monitoring world because we are collecting tons of telemetry data from our systems, networks, applications, and I want to be able to provide an easy and effortless interface to our teams so they can do their job even more efficiently. In last 10 years in the IT industry, every time when there is an incident, well, not every time, most of the time when there is an incident, there is some sort of manual effort or the time when we can pinpoint the exact problem. I want to be able to do some even correlation and pinpoint where the exact problem is and possibly take self-healing action to reduce the restore time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, of course.
Considering you are monitoring a cloud infrastructure, so basically it's a continuous process when new application instances appear and after some time disappear. How do you manage the Zabbix configuration in such cases?
It's very static. There is a team that manages that. In terms of, so there are 3 instances. There is a production instance that we care as baby. Then there is development instance, and then there is a test instance. So for the production instance, that's where we care most. And it's every time there is some change needs to happen, it has to go through the change management protocol to make any change, add, remove devices, and do something with it.
Okay, thanks.
So no questions. Thank you very much once again.